Grand rising to the heirs. Welcome to all of the heirs. Today is August the 9th, and we're going to start off first just unifying together in our hearts and minds so that as we proceed with this gathering, that our ancestors just do their thing, as they always do. Islam. Justice, let me get just a couple of things, make sure that I'm, Justice Gregory, I think you had a question.
Yes. A reversion of the signature is the equivalent of declaring your nationality, if I'm not wrong, and terminating your corporate contract is the same thing as a reversion of signature, right? Does that, and if I choose to not give them FRN notes on my home, that's not going to stop a foreclosure. Am I correct?
Well, what is foreclosure? Is it something that is lawful or is it unlawful?
It's unlawful.
Okay, and are your documents lawful or unlawful?
Lawful.
Okay. So they may attempt to go on and do whatever they're going to do with the corporation, which is what that is. You know, foreclosure is not a thing. And even in their record, they call foreclosure abandonment. They wait until you leave, and then they say you abandoned it. There's a reason for that. The heirs are to stand and not abandon their estate. So they may, in their records, go through with whatever they're going to go through with, but their records are fraud from the very beginning because they're not even talking to you. They're not talking about your structure. Right?
Islam, Malik Karabay, Long Beach Territory.
Rising.
Correct.
Right. So they're not talking about your territory or your structure. And so as long as you have terminated the corporate contract and you have a allodial title, et cetera, we're going to be adding a few more things to that process shortly that will further solidify that we are the source and that those are resources on our land, so that we further confirm and affirm, further affirm our lawful standing. Okay?
Okay. So the allodial title information, do I put that on the public record as well?
Yes. And
Okay.
ensure that it is in all lowercase letters in red.
Okay. Islam. Thank you.
Islam. We are going to be
Islam?
adding more to that. Islam.
Yes, I just want to give a little bit more information on that brother. So what I did for my house, that this would help him. So to go over with the allodial title, I also leaned the bank. I did a disclosure and discovery to the bank with the 12 questions. And I also leaned my corporate address. So I had to put so many liens that tied them all up until I was able to, for my beautiful consulate to come along a year later. Thank you very much.
Islam.
Islam.
And a court action is also going to assist with that as well, nobility.
Islam. I haven't done one of those yet because I have a steering wheel in my hand. I drive trucks like 2 and 3 months at a time, so it's kind of difficult for me to figure that out. I haven't really figured that out. yet how to do that. Or you know, because I know once I get the paperwork going, they're going to be responding, but I don't have anybody in my house to let me know how they're responding. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, if the paperwork is done a certain way, they won't respond. They'll just stop all attempts. They won't respond. They don't usually respond when the paperwork is right. I'll just say that.
So they'll basically, if I get my stuff together, my studies together, they'll just leave me alone? That's it? I mean, will they ever come and board up the house so I can't get in it and all that kind of stuff? No.
Okay, are they talking to you in the first place? That's what you need to get in your mind about who they're really speaking to.
Okay,
because if you don't know that and you do the demonstration, you're going to think they're speaking to you, and you're going to say something back that's not allodial and sovereign, and then they're going to do what they do. Because that's why they do it, because there's corporate speak in the documents. That's why they come and board things up and lock things up and put things, you know, and do what they do. Because there's something in the document that indicates that you're using their language, their corporate speak, or that you're attempting to be the corporate entity in some way.
Okay, I get you. I get it. Yes.
You see?
Yeah.
So whenever they speak, they're using capital letters. That means they're not talking to us at all. Period.
So no response. I don't need to respond because they're the dead.
You need to rebut what they say with regard to it and notify them that the property is sovereign, allodial, original, indigenous. And then the most effective way to let them know that they don't have jurisdiction is you go ahead and take jurisdiction by doing a court action. Now, some people choose to wait to learn the court action piece, and I would suggest that you do it as soon as possible and make it a priority.
Islam. Is that on the that's on the website? Morsha,
if you go to Like Tajiri Bay on YouTube, you can actually see the court actions being done there. And then just write down the things that I say in my court action and substitute and then put your information in there so that you can read off what was done and do your own court action based on the same way that we do.
Yeah, I've seen those videos. I've seen them.
Yes. And if you look at the videos, court actions take usually somewhere around 10 minutes, then that's maximum, you know, for the most part.
Yes, indeed.
So they don't take much time, and they are top priority. Top priority. In other words, all Moors are encouraged to stop what they're doing and do them.
Indeed.
Because if you think that there's anything that's more important than governing your own vast estate, you will soon find out that it's not. It's not. There's nothing more important than the heirs governing the vast estate by doing court actions and liens, etc. Islam. You invoke ultimate jurisdiction when you do a court action. That's the ultimate jurisdiction. That is the ultimate invocation of it, because they're only acting on fake court action.
Exactly, yes, indeed.
You see?
Yes.
And we're the real court. Every Moor on the earth is encouraged to do court actions. And do them for everything that you do. Everything, every piece of paper that comes from a corporation needs to have a court action done by the heirs saying that's not lawful. And that we are the sovereign jurisdiction on the land.
So that means the light, power, gas, city, and all of
that. All of that needs to be done that way. All of it needs to be done that way. Because for those who continue to pay the fiat, you can continue to pay the fiat, but at some point, the fiat's not going to be available. They're telling you now that the fiat won't be available shortly. When you go to the grocery store and they say, we don't have any U.S. coins, there's a coinage shortage, okay, 1s and 5s and 10s and 20s and 50s and 100s are soon to follow, just so that you're aware.
Yeah, because they're asking for, like I stop a lot of places being a truck driver, and a lot of these places are asking you to donate the change to them.
And that's actually a form of confiscation. They're confiscating when they do that. That's how they started in 1933. They said, hey, bring your gold, and exchange it for something else.
Islam?
Wow.
Islam, justice.
On that function, what they're actually doing is having the places collect it and turn it into them.
Yes.
Those are collection points.
Yes. Hold on for
okay,
just a
that's
moment.
what needs to be known. Islam.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Islam. Islam.
Yes, Empress. I had a quick question in regards to the affidavit of allodial secured land property repossession written statement. At the bottom of the form where the signature is required, it is asking for a witness, and I'm in Dallas. I do have another Moore in my area. However, we don't live very close to each other, and I'm just having a challenge with getting it witnessed by a Moore. I guess I wanted to find out if I know the person is a Moore, but if they're not nationalized, is that permissible?
It is permissible as long as they, number one, are of the bloodline and birthright, and number two, they sign in all lowercase letters. If they're willing to do that, you got it. You got your witness.
Okay.
And it can be a family member, or kin. It can be of the kinship.
Yeah, and that's what it is, because I don't feel comfortable. But another question is, would they need to put their thumbprint on there also, because they've not been nationalized?
Or if they just sign in red and all lowercase letters, that's valid as well.
That's
but
fine.
The seal helps. The seal helps.
Okay.
Because,
Islam. Islam. It must be a bay or ill also. If they're going
if
to
it is a national,
to be, yes, whatever their Moorish name or appellation is, yes, add the bay, have them add the bay or the ill, because they're actually making a statement proclaiming their nationality. So whether it's written or not, they have made it, and that alone can start serving to help them to learn and to grow into who they are.
Awesome. Okay. Awesome, Justice. Okay. That's great. Islam.
Okay. There were a couple of things that I wanted to mention really quickly. On October 31st, we're going to be at Mima Mound at Olympia, Washington Territory, and we'll probably get there around noon on the 31st of October, so that we can walk the mound and spend some time there. Those are ancestral burial grounds. During the Great Flood and the Deluge, our ancestors were there, and that is where many of them are. Their energies are there. I've been there several times, and every time that I went there, I got a new key and a new revelation with regard to our estate and who we are and all of that. Again, Olympia, Washington at noon, at 12 noon on October the 31st. So all who want to join us and take that walk, it's quite a walk, and it's quite something to see, because there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of mounds there, and they do have the walking, it's a walking paths throughout. And so it's, you know, you want to wear comfortable shoes and clothing as well, because it's going to be, it's quite the experience. The energy there is awesome. It's just amazing, awesome energy there. And then we come with our own awesome, amazing energy. And so everyone who wants to come on October 31st, there are several things about October 31st that are important to us. Number one, that will be the second full moon for that month. And that's important for us as well. We know that the energies from the full moons are always ancestral and awesome and powerful. And we can tap into that, as well as it being harvest time for the heirs. The corporates called it Halloween. But it really is a time of hallowed energy, hallowed being reverence or reverential energy, ancient energy. You know how they talk about the hallowed halls of certain places. That's really what that means, is that's the time when our ancestral energies are highly active and in a form that is important for us in terms of tapping into that energy. There are certain times of the year that the veil between the dimensions is thinner so that we can, you know, reach in and grab some energy from the other dimensions as well. That is one of the days that the energy and the veil is at its peak in other dimensions, and it's easy to bring it into this dimension. Okay, in the Biblioteliotext, they talk about the veil being rent into, and in reality, it's already rent into. But that's going to be one of those days where those who want to tap into ancestral energy, because there's so much knowledge and information there, we can unify and join to put our energies together and make that happen, even more so in a more powerful way. And then those who cannot make it to Olympia, Washington Territory for that, on that day, we're still going to be unified together as well anyway. Those who have recording devices can put it on their recording device and broadcast it live if they choose to do so. But it is going to be a sacred time for us, where we're just going to show lots and lots of gratitude with regard to the ancestors and all that they have done for us this year. They have really just manifested themselves through us and to us, and we want to show gratitude for that. If you're one who has a bit of a blockage maybe, and a blockage is not really a good word, but if you are having a little bit of a time trying to reach ancestral energy, start with gratitude. It always works. And when you start with gratitude, the ancestors make themselves known. Okay. So, again, October 31st is when we'll be doing that. Mima Mounds, and then after we take the walk through Mima Mounds, it's an hour or so walk through the mounds. That's how many mounds there are. And aside from that, then we'll go and commune together and share some time together as well, you know, in the area, in the territory. And then we will get to see some of the ancient structures as well around here, which look a lot like the ancient structures in a lot of the other territories. So we'll just make a day of it. Islam. Also, if you notice on the screen, there should be, I believe you should be able to see some flags on the screen. Can you see the flags on the screen? Are they there?
Islam.
Yes, they're there.
Okay.
Flag, Islam.
Okay. Yes, Islam. I wanted to take a moment to, thank you. I wanted to take a moment to discuss those that are on the screen. If you'll notice, some of them look very similar to the continental flag that is on all of our documents. Each one of the flags that are on there has a tree from the evergreen family. It could be a cedars of Lebanon. It could be a pine tree. It could be an evergreen tree. It could be any of those. The reason that I wanted to briefly make mention of our continental flag and the different flags that are similar to it is because I wanted to be sure that we know what that tree stands for and what it means. Okay. That tree, the tree that's on the flag, on our continental flag, that's on our government letterhead, is a tree that the reason our ancestors put that particular evergreen tree there, in the Bibliopeliothèque it's called a tamarisk tree. In some of the older books it's called a different type of tree, cedar of Lebanon. In other places, in other books it's called other types of trees. But that tree is on our continental flag because our ancestors, when they decided that they were never, ever, ever going to war on this land ever again, they came together and they came to the evergreen tree and they buried their weapons under the tree. And they vowed that they would never war again on our land. That's why we cannot war on the land, because they said they would never war again on the land. And they buried their weapons under the tree, and that is where the term bury the hatchet comes from. Okay. They buried the weapons under there, and they said, as long as these trees grow on this land, we're not going to war. As long as the trees are green, we're not going to war on our land. And that's why the tree stays green as well, because we're never, ever to war on the land. And any of the heirs who attempt to war on the land, there's a price to pay for that. And we don't want to pay that one. We don't want to pay that one. We don't have to pay that one. And when you hear about the great law of peace, that is part and parcel of that vow, that affirmation, that we are not going to fight one another. Now, again, no Albion's involved in that. We're not going to fight one another. We're not going to war against one another on this vast estate. We promised that. Our ancestors promised that. And we make the same promise that we're not going to war against one another on the estate. There is a time for war, and there is a time for peace. And as long as we have that flag on our documents, we are to keep the peace. So I wanted to point out about the hypothecations, essentially, of that with these flags that are showing here on the screen. Because even now, and actually back in the days of the one doing business as George Washington, he even, as he was going to battle, because this is what the Albions do for the most part, as he was going to battle, he put the appeal to heaven flag that you see on the screen there. He put that on all of the battleships and on all of the, you know, the places where they were battling. And he used that flag as well. But it's a different flag, different tree, different purpose. And so now we are rebutting all war on the land. So every time we put that on our documents, the document cannot be a war document with that flag on it. It cannot be a war document with that flag on it. Okay? And so I just wanted to point that out so that as you're drafting your affidavit, etc., Islam, Grand Rising, as you're drafting your documents, please keep that in mind, that we can't war with that. Court actions are not war. In fact, they keep the peace. So let's keep that in mind as well. Okay. Also, I just want to say briefly that all of the Moors that we were made aware of who were taken and detained this weekend, every last one of them has been set free. Every last one of them has been set free. So the testing is getting a lot shorter. The Moors are standing, and those who are doing business on our land are doing exactly as they should. Islam. And if there were any of you who were taken who want to tell your story briefly, you're welcome to do that here on this call. If not, we honor that you are back with us, Islam. And then also, we want to emphasize building it, Grand Rising. We want to emphasize that our focus is a national and international and universal focus at this time. Okay, we have to keep our focus on the all at this time. We each have things that we are providing remedy for ourselves by doing liens and court actions, etc. And when we do our liens and court actions, we are doing them with the all in mind, and that's why even our brothers and sisters who remain at this time under POW in POW camps, not under POW camps, but in POW camps, the ones who remain in POW camps, we are including them in all that we do as well when we say all Moors. So we have not forgotten them, and in fact, we mention them every time we do anything. We include them as well. So again, our focus for the next 10, into perpetuity is going to be growing our healthy government for future generations to come. That's what we're doing, is making sure that the future generations who come after us don't have to deal with the things that we've had to deal with, and they are to know how to deal with them should they come across those types of things. Okay. As we continue to open up the commerce portals, we must never lose sight of our sovereign government and nation. Okay. So again, each one of us, of course we know who we are, and we you know, some Moors want to claim 30 and 40 and 50 domiciles. That is a governmental situation where each one of us is part and parcel of our government, for our government, of our government, with our government, etc. And everything that we do is, again, for the all. And if it's not done for the all, then I can pretty much assure you that the ancestors are going to put a bit of a hold on it. It has to be for the all. So that is basically all I wanted to bring forward this week. Are there any other questions about any of the demonstrations that have been done or that you're in the midst of doing? Are there any more who have any issues that you want national input on? National input means everybody on this call. Islam.
I guess I want to make a statement and also ask a question. I did a demonstration on a bill that I received, and through the bill, that was my first lien that I did. Well, that company called my phone every day, about 3 times a day, and I mean, it went on for months and months and months and months. Since I've done the lien, my phone has stopped ringing. I don't know if it's because of my lien, but I can tell you that my phone has stopped ringing. I've not been in contact with them since I did the court cause of action. However, I have sent their arrest commands to the provost marshal, so I just don't know. I just know that my phone is not ringing.
Islam. That is actually what we were saying earlier. I don't know if we were recording the call at that time or not, but when it's done right, they stop talking. The only, and it's not, they will attempt to regain or recapture the beneficiary. That's their attempt to recapture. That's why they keep calling, because they want to see if you're competent to know that they don't have a leg to stand on. And so they'll call sometimes just to see if they can regain jurisdiction by your consent. But we don't talk to them. We don't answer the phone when they call. Especially, you know, once documents are sent, we don't talk to them. But documents must be sent. We speak by affidavit. And when you speak by affidavit, they're supposed to be quiet. They're servants and subjects. They're supposed to be quiet and not say another word. And when the documents are done competently, they will be quiet. You won't hear from them again.
Islam. That is, I guess, my next question. Do I send them any commands in the future? I'm just, I'm new, and please forgive me. That's why they were calling me, because I was not nationalized. And once I became nationalized and did what I have been instructed to do, it worked, obviously. But I just don't know if I just sit and wait now, or do I send them any commands, or, I'm just a little unsure.
The documents that you sent, were they on government letterhead?
Yes, they were.
Then you are nationalized. I mean, you're nationalized.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
The bloodline and the birthright.
Absolutely, Empress. I meant that I didn't have my nationality card at that time when they were calling me unmercifully. Yeah, and then once I did receive my nationality papers back along with my card, then that's when I did all the other things, getting my trust in place and canceling all those corporate contracts. At that point, I moved forward with that first lien. And, so this is
have
where
you done a court action? Did you say you did a court action?
Oh, yeah. I did it as you stated. I took it from the beginning all the way to the arrest command that has been already sent to the provost marshal. And I sent that same copy to them. I emailed it and I mailed it to them, letting them know that the arrest command has been sent.
Yes. What can they say behind that? What can they say?
They've not said anything. My phone's not ringing, and I'm so happy about that. I just definitely wanted to share that with everyone. And like I said, I'm still new on the process. I am still moving forward with my court actions and learning through the processes. But I just kind of try to stay close to you all so I can ask the pertinent questions as they come up.
What's your appellation, Empress?
Lael Bat Yisrael.
Yes, Islam, Grand Rising, Empress, very powerful.
Grand Rising, Justice.
That's the same thing that happened, and I told this story previously, of when they were coming to this domicile. They came every morning for 3 weeks straight. And this was before we started the court actions en masse. And this was actually last year in November, December time frame. They were coming every day, knocking on the door. They couldn't kick the door in because I had no contract with them. They came with a contract in hand, hoping that I would contract with them. I did not answer the door. I got up in the window, I took their photograph, and they saw me take their photograph. And then I posted their photograph on social media along with a command to appear in court. And when I did the court action, they stopped coming, and I've not heard hide nor hair from them since that time period. And that is actually what's supposed to happen. That actually pushed me to go ahead and do the court action the way that it was done, simply because that was actually one of my first court actions. It was actually the second one, because I had done a court action in 2018, and then the ancestors said, okay, that's good, but you got to learn a few more things, so let's just learn some things, and then you can do the court actions regularly. So they and haven't heard from them, and don't expect to, and they won't be calling and coming by or anything like that, because a higher court has spoken.
Islam.
That is what they should do. Quiet. Mask up. Okay. Islam, thank you for that, Empress. Appreciate that.
Islam.
And I want to say, too, that if they start talking back, that means they see something where there's a little bit of something in there and they're trying to get back in. So that's why we we split hairs on that paper, on the document, in terms of making sure that everything is in all lowercase letters, in red, and that whenever we're talking about them, it's in black. And we use capital letters because they are indeed dead. Okay. And then yes, go ahead.
Oh, no, Empress, I was just agreeing with what you were stating.
Yes, Islam. So, again, heirs, I'm just saying, those court actions, it is incumbent upon each of the heirs to govern their vast estate by way of sovereign court actions. And the reason I say that, again, is because everyone that was in that fake Congress, that corporate situation, they are all attorneys, quote unquote, and bar members, because they already knew that this estate had to be done in a lawful manner. Everything that's done has to be done using the law first. And see, when the law is done first, the force then comes after the law in all cases, even in the case of the corporation. They would do the law piece first, quietly, okay, and then they would make the force piece that was holding the lawful paper, and it wasn't lawful paper, we know that, but the legal paper, which is policy and forces and military, then those would go and do things, kicking in doors, et cetera, et cetera. But they had to have the documents first to do it. They don't show you that. They don't tell you that. You have to know that. And when we govern by getting the documents first, and putting the documents on the public record, and using our sovereign lawful government and courts to do things, to state who we are, etc., then the fourth comes behind our lawful actions by way of our ancestors at this point. However, I do see the ancestors beginning to manifest the we don't have to govern by force, but we have it if we need it. It's starting to manifest, and I know that our ancestors don't want us warring on the land, so I'm looking to see what they're going to do with that energy that is manifesting in the form of heirs who know that their bloodline and birthright is a force to be reckoned with, even where military strategy is concerned. So the ancestors are beginning to manifest that part. I got sent another something from Moors just this morning, a photo of Moorish military heirs. They had uniforms and everything, and our flag on their arm. And I mean, they look sharp, and they are absolutely ready to stand. And so I'm waiting to see what the ancestors are going to do with that, because so far ancestral energy has been doing all that we needed it to do in terms of protection, in terms of enforcement of the things that we say and do. The ancestral energy has been coming forward and causing all who stand in the way of us and our state to cede, to sit, and to do as they are commanded. That's why I kept saying that when we're competent, they do exactly what we tell them to do, because I see it all the time. I don't have 50 Moors in this territory armed up with AR-15s and all of that. I don't have that here. But as it stands, it's looking like I don't need it anyway. But I know that that energy is manifesting, and so I'm going to honor it and allow the ancestors to do whatever they want to do with military energy or whatever, however they, and in my opinion, it's not an opinion, it's a fact. I know that it's peacekeeping energy that's manifesting. Peacekeeping energy. Okay. So that's pretty much all that I have there. I was in a restaurant yesterday with one of the Moors. He traveled about 4 hours to come and get some documents done. And we went to break bread in a local place, and of course they did the mask thing, and we said no, we don't wear them because we're Moorish American nationals and we are not under those codes and statutes. And in their minds, of course, they said, well, the only way that you can come in, that we can serve you, is if you wear a mask to the table, and then you can take the mask off at the table. I thought, I had to laugh at that, and I know she probably was thinking, why is she laughing? That was really funny. But I told her no, that we don't do that because we're the heirs, and I pointed to the flag on my turban, and she said, well, we'll just seat you with. She said. So I asked her. I said, have you read the directives that you're operating under? And she said, yes, I have a copy of them. I said, go get a copy so that I can show you that we do not wear them. And I was going to enforce the directive on her, and when I told her to go get a copy, she didn't want to leave her post. So she said, okay, well, we'll just seat you with the people who have medical exemptions for the mask. I didn't care what excuse she used for herself, but I was going to tell her the truth. And when I got around the corner to, the area where people who don't wear masks, to the table sit, we were the only heirs in there, and everyone else in that space was Albion. And so that affirmed for me what I thought. But then when the waiter came, we got on the subject of, oh, he called me ma'am. And I said, do not call me ma'am. And I said it peacefully. He said, well, I was in the military for 7 years, and, you know, every time we always had to say sir or ma'am. I said, well, sir and ma'am is British, and we're Americans. He said, you know, I knew that because I was an officer in the military, and it was the British who trained us to train the troops. I said, really? He said, yes, they used a blue book, the Army's blue book, to train us so that we could train the troops. I was like, wow, it's good to hear you admit that the British trained you. And so I looked up the blue book, and sure enough, it is a military training book. So for anyone who wants to look at that, just to take a look and see what their psychological operations methods are, there were a series of books dating back to 1928 or something like that, that describe the military operations, the psychological operations, and how to do them on the heirs. It also occurred to me that the United States military, the corporate one, with capital letters, was an operation specifically for the heirs here at America. They painted the narrative that the military was overseas doing all these other things, but in reality, all of their work was here. It was all here to subdue the heirs here. Policy enforcers are paramilitary, or were paramilitary. They don't have any funding because the heirs have taken the credit away. But they are paramilitary as well. So they're a part of that whole subdue the heirs thing that used to be here before we stood. We are talking about that in past tense because it is in past tense. It's a wrap. And I think it's pretty evident even to the Moors who may not have been able to see that it's done on that side over there. That you can see now just by watching that whole thing crumble and crash and burn, which is what it has already done, that it's a wrap over there and that we need to stand and get moving. Are there any other questions, comments, etc.? Any other demonstrations that you need assistance with where we can all put our input in and assist with that? With your demonstration, if you're having any stoppage points or questions, etc.
Islam, Empress.
Islam, yes.
Beyond debate. I was doing some research on a corporation, and all the CEO heads there are of melanated persuasion. When we get to the point of the court and all that, and they're asked to come forth for stating their name and nationality. Can you shed some light on that area about them being melanated and the birthright and all that? How does that work?
Okay, so they have a covering over them, a corporate covering over them, and they don't really realize that it's a corporate covering over their nationality.
Okay.
So we treat them as we would any one who is attempting to exercise rights that they don't have over the heirs.
Okay.
They get leaned and all of that. Because remember, we leaned the straw for ourselves as well. We leaned that first, and that's why I'm encouraging you. Now, again, you can't tell the sovereigns what to do, but I would encourage you to lean that straw of yours, the one that they've been using to inflict violations on you. I would encourage you to be the first leaner to lean that for 100 million in gold-backed lawful coinage, so that as the other heirs wake up, they will realize that they can get out of any lien that has been placed on them by declaring their nationality.
Yes, yeah. Okay. I was wondering
So
that.
when they declare their nationality, they will be able to operate on their land as Moorish American nationals and not have to worry about the lien that you put on their straw.
Okay.
Because when we lien for everyone, remember. We already lien ourselves for them.
Correct.
When we say all Moors, you see.
Yes.
And we didn't lien ourselves because that's not us. We lien the straw and we lien the servant and the quote. We lien both of them.
Right. Okay.
So that we have control of them in terms of, you know, which lien holder is in line first.
Yeah.
So yes, lien them because you're actually doing them a favor.
Islam.
That's gonna make it so that they don't have to lien themselves when they wake up, and that they can operate in their sovereign status. Islam. Go ahead. Yes. Did that assist with that,
yes.
Justice?
Yes, it did.
Islam. Treat them the same way you would treat anyone else claiming to be a citizen, because believe it or not, the Albions aren't citizens either. They're subjects to the heirs. There's no such thing as a U.S. citizen. That's a stateless status. Islam. Go ahead, Empress.
I'm sorry. I'm new to this. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. State your appellation and your nationality, Empress.
My name is Denise Bay.
Islam.
Islam. I'm currently in the beginning stages of proclaiming my nationality, and I've already completed my documentations and got my witnesses to sign and got my thumbprints and everything, and I mailed it off a few days ago, and I'm wondering like what will my next steps be?
Okay, if you have, first of all, you don't have a name, so your next step is going to be know who you are as you begin to move through your demonstration. You don't have a name, you have an appellation, okay? Names are for property, okay? So your next step is going to be to study to free yourself. And when I say study, can you hear me? It looks like okay, good, you're there. When I say study to free yourself, if you have anything going on in your sphere of influence, in other words, if they're sending bills or saying that you know that the straw has to come to court, et cetera, whatever the case may be, then you study to free yourself from that, knowing that they're not talking to you, but that you're going to rebut what they say on the public record, and you're going to ensure that that they don't violate your sovereign body under false pretenses of you being something, some name in all capital letters. Yes. So your next step is going to be know the difference between that which uses capital letters and that which uses no capital letters. So study in capitis diminutio minima. Study that so that you know that when you don't, we say in capitis diminutio nolo, which is a sovereign term, and it means there's no diminishment of our status. We are the highest status, period. But then if you look in Black's Law Dictionary, you're going to see in capitis diminutio minima, which is a minimal loss of status by the use of capital letters. Okay, so you want to be sure that that the capital letters piece is clear to you. So when you see documents that have a capital letters on it, you know that you're not a part of a capitalist system, but that system is subject to you. That's your next step. Do you, and then I have a question, do you have anything that is pressing in terms of either they're attempting to do something like take sovereign property by way of false foreclosure, etc., or attempting to take your sovereign body on false terms, basically, anything like that. If you have anything like that going on, study to free yourself from that. And
I have been studying a lot.
With the same process, basically. You're rebutting capitalism. Okay, go ahead, Empress.
Okay, I have been doing a lot of studying. It's just that I have had a really hard time getting in contact with somebody to like answer these questions. And another thing that I'm trying to nationalize my husband is as well, but he's in prison, and I know that if I send the documents to him, he'll basically get in like more trouble in so many words. And of course, I can't get his signature. So is there a way that I can nationalize him even though he's in prison, or like what is the process with something like that, or what I have to like what?
Yes, thank you for that question. He can nationalize himself right in there.
Okay,
all
what would he have to
do? Is get a red pen, if he can. If he can't get a red pen, use whatever color pen he can get his hands on. And on a piece of paper, he can write exactly who he is, and he can enforce that right in there where he is. And then he can say, first, know the personam jurisdiction statement. So he can write the personam jurisdiction statement out. He can say that because the personam jurisdiction statement says that he is a Moorish American national in all lowercase letters. The personam jurisdiction statement goes something like this. And there are different versions of the statement out there, so none of them are wrong. This is one version of the personam jurisdiction statement. It says, I am, and then he would state his appellation, which is, he can either use his sovereign born appellation in all lowercase letters, but it must be in all lowercase letters when he writes this out. From start to finish, all lowercase letters, except for when he says United States Corporation Company Citizen. But the personam jurisdiction statement is the following. I am, and he can state his appellation in all lowercase letters, in capitis diminutio nolo, in capitis diminutio nolo, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredis. No United States Corporation Company citizen, nor their agents, principals, heirs, assigns, nor any derivatives thereof, has personam jurisdiction over me or over any Moors. And then he can say, I hereby set myself free from this place today. And then just put that out throughout hand it to the correction officers, those doing business as correction officers. If he has one of those state court venues to go to, that statement and that statement only, and say nothing other than that, and put it in writing and hand it to them, and make sure that they get that statement. Okay.
Okay. So
he is sovereign. He can nationalize because it's in his blood anyway.
Right.
Okay. So he doesn't necessarily need somebody on the outside to do anything. He can do it himself right there where he is. That's what sovereign status is.
Well, my goal is to try to set him free. Pardon me for interrupting. So will that help? I mean, I don't know if this is the right line to ask these types of questions, but will that help in setting him free?
He can set himself free. You cannot set him free because no one represents the Moors. As much as we love our Moors and want to assist, we are here to assist. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing what we're doing. But ultimately, the Moor must be the one to speak their truth and to set themselves free. Only
from the
they
prison.
can do it. Yes. That's what sovereign status is. Knowing that he has a nation and a government out here who's been putting documents on the public record for all Moors will assist when he makes his statement. See, we're assisting already by the things that we've placed on the public record for all Moors. And then all the Moors have to do who are in there is say exactly what I just said and say that I hereby set myself free from this place today. And then make sure that they notify everybody in there, everybody that they can that's in there of that thing. If they have to write it every day, write it every day and make sure that they hand it to somebody, slide it under the door, something, and get it out there.
Okay. And also,
and that is not conventional thinking, by the way, but that is what we didn't know what sovereign status looked like before. We do now, though. Islam.
Yes, ma'am. Islam. Where do we send Federal Reserve notes, or how do we send
what
them?
Is it for?
I'm sorry.
What is it for? You're sending it to him?
No, ma'am. For my nationalization documentations that I sent off, I believe from my card, from my identification card, once it's done on the paper, it said no money orders. So what other
who is it that? Well, if you went to MoorishAmericanConsulate.org, whatever it is that they're saying to do, you can do it. But there's also Justice Abbasi, who is on this call. He can assist you as well with that.
Is there a way I can exchange numbers with somebody?
Sure. Know that you're already nationalized because you have the bloodline and birthright. Okay, so there's no one can charge you for your nationality. I want that to be clear. Because you're that already. Okay. Yes. You were born the heir. Okay.
Absolutely.
So no one can charge you for your nationality. When it comes to ID cards, the only reason that those who are doing the cards have been charging is because of the materials that it takes to get the cards done.
Like the ink and things like that.
Yeah. Yes, Justice Abbasi, who's on the call, and that's a minimal charge. That's not anything major. I believe it's $35 or something. 35 sovereign credits, etc.
Yes.
So Justice Abbasi, who's on the call, can assist you with that. Justice Abbasi, I believe. Yeah. Go ahead, Justice Abbasi.
Islam. Yes. Like she was saying, no one can charge you for your nationality because when you came from my mother's, or when we came from our mothers, we were Moors, and because mothers determines the nation. So you was a Moor when you was born. Now, the processes is what fiat is donated for. Okay, and that is the judicial notice and the name correction is sealed and stamped. Those documents that get sealed and stamped is 35 notes. IDs, along with your IDs, are 35 notes. Travel cards.
So how do I get it?
Cash App. I will send you. Yes, via Cash App. I will send you my Cash App information, and all you would need to do is just really send me your email. I would do the rest. For as the documentation, everything, even get your witnesses. Okay.
So, what's your email?
I will put it in the chat.
Can you see the chat?
It's my appellation, which is Abbasi Talif Bey @gmail.com. That's ABASI TALIB BEY. All together at gmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Islam. Can I interject?
Hold for just a moment. Let me make sure that she's getting her questions answered as well.
Okay.
Empress.
So far, I mean, I got my basic questions that I needed answered, and I thank you all. Mr. Abashi?
Yes, I will put my phone number in the chat. Just send me your email address, and I'll send you the nationality information form. Okay?
I have it, but okay. Can I go ahead and send you an email with my contact information?
Sure.
Thank you all. Islam.
Excuse me. What is your email address so I can look out for it?
Yes, it'll be Denise Welch 23 at gmail.com.
Islam.
And that's DYNISE.
You don't have to put any more information out there because this goes on the public record. I think you all have enough information. This goes on.
I'm good. I'm good.
And
Thank you.
Yeah.
Islam.
Thank you to the new Moors, because I'm noticing that we are having quite a few new Moors to speak up. I'm so glad that you feel comfortable enough to speak up and ask your questions. That is the most vital and most important thing that is our concern is ensuring that the new Moors get the information they need, because we know that it's not always possible to reach other Moors on the phone, and some of us, because of the other works that we're doing throughout the week, it can be a little bit, there's not, the harvest is ripe and the laborers are few. Then we put that out there because that's really the case here. But that's why we have these calls. Come on the calls, ask your questions. They are welcome, 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 welcome. We want them, okay? Because the
I think another Moor had a question out there. He said Islam when I was talking. Maybe he had something to say.
Yeah, that was Justice Ansel. We'll give him some time to speak. But I want to make sure that we let the new Moors know that we are here for them. Okay, because we need to ensure that they know that their nation is here. And we're permanently here. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be here. And you have resources and assistance and backup, okay, for what you're doing. It does require you to stand. And we want to be sure that all Moors grow in strength and sovereign status and know that that they are the source of all Islam. We don't represent the Moors. All Moors present themselves. Islam. Justice Ansel, you were going to say.
Islam family, Islam. Hope everybody is in good health today.
Yes, Islam.
On the matter of incarceration in regards to I think it was Miss Denise Welch. She was referencing the arrest of her husband. I wanted to say that upon an arrest or when we're kidnapped, I should say, or held as prisoner of war, one of the most important things that is established when you're incarcerated is to have consular representation, right? That's the first process that they go through to establish who you are and where you're affiliated with. So I would suggest in regards, as I know very well that Moors are supposedly to be well versed in freeing themselves and so, but a simple thing as a letter of representation from the consulate would help very greatly. If you would have the consular general have a generated signature or so on a document that you can present with the individual name to the institution that the person is incarcerated in to claim ownership of them, or as a representative or as a part of a specific body, that would help tremendously.
Okay. Let me
Okay.
interject with that. Let me interject with that, because that is I know that I noticed that you use the word representation, and we don't do that. No one represents the Moors. No one. We don't even represent each other. The Moors must stand. And when you talk about documents signed by consuls and judges and justices, there are so many of those on the public record already that there's no reason why those documents cannot be downloaded and used. Use them because that's what they're for. Use them now before any of that happens. Okay? And so, again, saying, and Justice Ansel, I understand that you're speaking from your heart there. Yes. Yes. I know that you're speaking from your heart with regard to that. But we must upgrade our thinking to know what sovereign status really means. The Moorish American Consulate and the Moorish National Republic federal government has placed many documents on the public record, and a lot of the changes that you're seeing have everything to do with the fact that we are speaking as a nation. All of our liens, all of our documents, they're not just for one of us, they're for all of us. I know that personally because I wrote a lot of them with the assistance of the Sovereign Supreme Judiciary, which we're all a part of that anyway. And so we put things on the public record that the Moors can use at any time. At any time. When a Moor is taken, you can go out on the public record and pull everything that you need. Everything that you need is already out there. And then you can do a court action. Already out on the public record. Now, it makes us feel good to know that others are with us when we are taken. I know that for a fact. When I was taken in 2017, the consulate was not yet up and running in this capacity that it's in right now. But to know that Chalet Moore was out there, and he sent a habeas corpus for me, but I had to stand. And it's because I stood and because of what he sent, because there was a change in their behavior based on what he sent. So even the family members, Empress Denise, you're here, you can already pull the documents that you need to pull for him. And you can put them on the public record for him. But ultimately, those documents have already been signed and everything by the heirs, but you still need to know what they say and how to stand on them. And he needs to know how to stand on them also.
Is Empress
because in reality, he can put his own, he can deliver himself. He can free himself by what he says. It's only by what he says, in reality, that he can be set free. It's only by what he says that he can be set free. However, we are here, and that's why I'm glad you're here, so that we can put that out there, that no one needs to represent the Moors. They can present themselves, and that's what this is about. We're assisting one another in standing on our own sovereign status, because we actually have bigger fish to fry, each one of us within our own rights. We must be governing our own vast estate. Okay, Islam, Justice Abbas.
Yes, to all the newly nationalized.
How about Elizabeth Abigail Adams? Is Elizabeth?
It's something that we used to tell everybody when we're doing our documentation, okay? And the first thing you want to do is notify these folks, all right? Yes. And we stress that. Notify, 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 notify. All right, send your documentation out. Let these people know who you are. You have to introduce yourself to all these people. They know you as a straw. They don't know you as a noble. So you have to introduce yourself to them as a noble. With that, I yield.
Yes. Now, I love that, Justice Abasi, because that indicates proactivity. Proactivity, and we all must do it. We all must do it. That's why the documents are out there on the public record, proactivity. And even for the Moors that have been incarcerated for quite a while, the ones who've been incarcerated for quite a while, they can even free themselves when they stand on their sovereign status and let those that are holding them know that, hey, I'm awake, I know who I am, and I already know that I'm going to set my own self free by what I say and by my proclamation and by the things that I say and do in here. All day, every day. But again, the government and the nation of Moors has already put so many things out there for all of us. And then even Grand Sheikh Taj Sharif Bey and all of the other Moors who were here before this consulate got active and woke up, have put things on the public record. And all we had to do, this consulate used the documents that Grand Sheikh and them put on the record, and then we began to generate our own documents as well, you see, and put them on, and we were doing the same thing Grand Sheikh and them were doing, just assisting all Moors when we said, I and all Moors are leaning this one and that one and this one and that one, and I and all Moors are doing court actions for this one and that one and this one and that one. We got them. And so, Empress Denise, it's a good thing that you're here, because he needs to know how powerful he is sitting in there. He's in there, yes, but he's very, very powerful, and they already know that he has the authority to set himself free in there. As long as he's not warring against anyone in there, okay? And by warring, all that is, you know, there's a whole bunch of yelling and threatening, and that's warring, okay? That's warring. But peaceful energy, but standing firm on who he really is, and the personam jurisdiction statement, and then his statement that he's setting himself free. They cannot, there's nothing they can do about a sovereign who says, I just set myself free. I just set my own self free.
Yeah, it really worked for Sir and Tracy Gilbey, didn't it?
Yep. So, it was the Albion.
Let him speak.
Again, there's no warring that we're going to be doing. See, they want us to war, but we're not going to do that. We're going to be peaceful so that our commands are honored. And with that, Islam, Justice, you were going to say something.
Yes. Also, too, when he's freeing himself, he's not to place his mark or sign anything, because they're going to come to him as though they're having him sign his release form, but in reality, it's to tie him up back into the system, right? So he's not to place his mark or anything or sign anything at all.
Yes. Well, and the thing is, and that's why I was saying he can free himself by writing his own statement and signing his own statement in all lowercase letters. That's what Justice Ansel, you're saying all of the right things in terms of what is in alignment with what he should be doing. We don't fill out their forms. We don't sign their stuff because there's fraud in it. That's inducement to fraud, and we can no longer be induced to fraud by signing their stuff. Okay? So what we do is we write our own affidavits and statements. And that way we know our statements don't have any fraud in them because we wrote them and we're saying who we really are and we're saying what we're really doing. Islam. So that is something that we must, we have to upgrade our thinking so that we can move to the next step in what we're doing. We are sovereign. We have the authority to set ourselves free. It's against conventional thinking. It's against programming, but it is the truth when you talk about sovereign. Okay? Okay, Islam. Islam. I know that from firsthand experience. And so do, and even the ones that that were taken this weekend, we did not send any documents for them. They set themselves free because they stood.
Lucille Janelle, Lucille Empress Melo, Lucille Janelle, Melo, Lucille Janelle, Abigail Adams, Elizabeth Abigail Adams. Are you dealing poker, honey?
There it is.
Are you doing your World Series?
Okay, and so the Albions have resorted to personal, talk, but they're not even talking about us. They speak in capital letters. Did you know that? Yeah, they speak in capital letters. So we know they're not talking about us or to us, okay? So, we definitely want to keep that in mind, that our sovereign status, we have the authority to set ourselves free. And when we're first approached by colonizers, when we're first approached by them, if we don't say anything after putting our documents on the public record and terminating all corporate contracts, if we don't say anything, they can't take us. If we don't say anything and we just sit calmly, they still can't take us. Because they're public servants and they already know that they are supposed to check the public record. But again, like the Empress was talking about earlier in the call, they called her phone repeatedly because they needed to get consent again. And they're actually really good at inducement to fraud, but they're not as good as those documents. Those documents and us not saying a word. Read the documents. And when they read the documents, they already know that they don't have a leg to stand on at all. They know that.
Islam says another form of entrapment is legal and lawful consideration, where they allow you and ask you questions in regards to your address or your name or one of these commercial type additives that brings you back, even though you're claimed to being a national, it does like a reversionary and brings you back under legal and lawful consideration, where you acknowledge their corporate jurisdiction, and then because you accept a form of it, then it places you back into the system so that they can abuse you,
And that's why we say don't say anything. Don't say anything. Put your documents on the record, and from there, just don't say another word. You don't have to say anything else. Okay? Anything you say, they're going to try and use it against you. They're going to try and use it against you. But they can't use our silence because, again, we've already placed on the public record our truth. Islam, Empress, go ahead.
Yes, this is Justice Genesis.
Yes.
I was just wanting to let you guys know that it does work. The termination of corporate contracts, it does work. I put a termination of corporate contracts before I went to surgery, and I had to leave my house. And when I came back, well, I tried to check the record or the account. The account had been deleted. I had no account with the water. It was a water company. Had no account with them. And what happened was my daughter was here at my domicile, and she so-called paid the bill when the bill came, you know, and that is why they're sending me a bill now. But I terminated the corporate contract again, and of course I did a court action, and I'm working on the arrest commands now. So I just wanted to say it does work to terminate the corporate contracts, and you don't really have to do a whole lot of anything else.
Yep. The corporate contracts and also the and go ahead, Justice Abasi.
Yes, and listen, when these policy enforcers stop you anywhere, okay, their job is to try to denationalize you. Okay, if they ask you a question, listen to the question carefully before you answer it. You know, like, what is your address? You don't have an address. You have a mailing location. What's your name? You don't have a name. You have a affiliation. So I'm just saying, these kind of things that you study, and when they ask you these questions, you can talk with them as long as you know what to say when you open your mouth. With that, I yield.
Islam. And each one of us can handle that however the ancestors lead you to handle it. I find that I should not have to say anything to a public servant. They should be doing public servant stuff and doing their homework before they ever approach. Because really that's what they do in the morning when they first get there to their place. They do their little research, they have their little meetings, and then they decide before they even leave who they're going to pull over. Just know that it's not random. It's not random.
Islam.
See, I don't answer questions. I don't answer.
Yes, Islam.
Yes. Yeah, they were sitting behind my automobile yesterday, the policy enforcers, and I'm sitting here and looking at them out the window, and they were just sitting there because I have my allodial plates on my automobile, and I've already notified the police and sheriff, everybody. So he sat there for about 5 minutes. I guess he was looking over the the plate, and then he drove off.
Islam.
I yield.
Islam.
Yes, Justice Dearborn.
What happens is if you have sent your documents in, and the main places you want to do it when it comes to the automobiles or to the transportation, the sheriff and the transportation department. You get it there. They're supposed to handle whoever else needs to be advised. And once the record is populated, you'll see them. They'll come up and drive behind you. I get a whole ton of that. What they can look for and where they will catch you is if you do something that maybe you make a turn when you should stop first, and they'll do that because they use it as a pretext. This is the point where you give your document and then shut your mouth. Because the tag you have on your unit and the information that that you get when you do that tag is sufficient. Just hand it to them, let them read it. Take your time, get on your phone, talk to somebody, close your window, and ignore what they have to say. When they're done, they'll come back after they've checked in. They'll come back and hand you your things and say, sorry, have a nice day, or you could get in an argument and tell them I don't want to be nice because I don't want to be bloody. But you could just leave them alone and just go away. They know. They know who you are. As long as you know who you are, you're good. That is the biggest part of. But that's why we study ourselves. That's why we know what we're talking about, and when we don't know, we shut up. Because fishes are caught by their mouth. They never catch them by their tail, you know. So shut up if you don't have anything to say, and wait, let them do their stuff, and then you go about your business. Islam.
And again, proactivity is always going to be the best way to do all of that. Get your documents on the public record. Get them on the public record now. Okay? In red, in all lowercase letters. So that you know and they know, and then notify. Justice Abasi was absolutely on it when he said notify, because that is actually, and then if you're feeling a little, you know, a little bit of energy with regard to what you've done, notify them again, and let them know who you are in your territory. Because again, they have been notified by this entire government and nation as to who the heirs are. And now all the heirs have to do is continue to stand and speak for themselves. Islam, Justice.
Islam. I just wanted to give a little, I guess, insight, since I worked as a policy enforcer to our more. There are those policy enforcers who have been on the rock and they really don't know the best procedure when dealing with policy enforcers is to be cordial and to be calm and just state what you're saying, because some really don't know. The ones who do know and don't care, you know.
Empress Lorraine Janelle. Lorraine.
That's a different deal. But I worked in it for almost 30 years and I didn't have a clue until I got out of it. So if you'll be calm but be courteous, and you don't have to be matter of factish, that, you know, just state what you're going to say, or don't, and produce the paperwork and say this is who I am and this is the Moorish nation, and just let it go at that. But be courteous. That way they can't grab a hold of anything or use it as something to snare you with, and that's basically what happens. You tend to snare people on what they say and how they behave. Just a little insight on that. I yield.
Islam. That is a part of just being peaceful in general. We're peaceful in general. That's just what we do. Okay, so we're not at war with anyone, and the land belongs to the heirs, period. Okay, and so peaceful energy is always going to be our greatest weapon. Peaceful energy is our greatest weapon, aside from the documents that we send and the things we say. Islam, Justice.
Brother Frank, I'd just like to add that just because you're supposed to be solid, but I still think you should add let them know that my silence is not a consent, and that's about it. Islam. And that could be stated in the documents that you put on the public record and notify them with, because notice to agent is notice to principal, notice to principal is notice to agent as well. So yes, agreed. Yes, Islam. Are there any other? Yes, go ahead, Empress.
My name is Portia Philippe L. Bay. I'm calling from the Threatened Territory. And,
it sounds a little muffled, Empress. Can you maybe adjust a little bit so that we can really hear what you're saying? It sounds a little muffled. Maybe you need to come closer to your microphone or something.
Okay, can you hear me better?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes. Oh. That's better, Empress. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. I have a current issue with my daughter. She just got a citation for speeding. And I did hear about the court action. And also I wanted to know, like, when I do the court actions or I send documents, how would I go about getting names? You know, because I see some of the documents and they have a list of names when they're sending it to different courts, or like the police stations or various corporations, and they have a list of names. And I would like to know how I could go about getting it.
So what exactly is it that you're looking to find out in terms of
I want
information?
to know how to get my daughter's citation for speeding dismissed. She got
okay.
Okay, I'm listening.
First of all, it's not her citation. It belongs to a corporation. Okay. So she has to know who she is, and you have to know who you are. You can assist her in that process. Have the two of you been nationalized on paper?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. It is going to be incumbent upon her to rebut the ticket. And the way you rebut the ticket is everything that you do is going to be done in all lowercase letters. That's how you rebut anything that they say and do, because the ticket is in capital letters. I can assure you, I don't even have to see it. I already know that it is. And that's because the capitalism system is the system that they've been using to war on our land against the sovereign, original, indigenous heirs until we woke up and realized that that's what they were doing. So she's going to need to invoke jurisdiction, personam jurisdiction, and let them know that they, by affidavit, that they do not have jurisdiction over her because no United States corporation, company, citizen, nor their agents, principals, heirs, assigned, nor any derivative thereof has personam jurisdiction over her and over any more. So the personam jurisdiction statement that we talked about earlier in the call is what she needs to put on in affidavit form on government letterhead, Moorish government letterhead. That letterhead is available everywhere. It's in red in all lowercase letters. If you go, are you on social media or is she on Facebook at all? Okay. Go to Moorish American Consulate Public Records page. Okay. And on that page, you can see many, many, many documents from many different Moors invoking jurisdiction. And you can also get the letterhead on that page as well. Okay. She should be using government letterhead because all Moors are part and parcel for their government. And when she sends the affidavit of jurisdiction, of sovereign jurisdiction, to rebut the ticket, as a further measure, she can always do a court action as well. But for starters, she will need to invoke jurisdiction by affidavit. And those can be found at Moorish American Consulate Public Records page. Some of the documents on that page are in ancient English. So just find one that is not in ancient English. And you'll know the ancient English ones when you see them. You can use ancient English or you can use regular corporate English, especially if you are a new Moor, because you need time to grasp the concept of the ancient English. And so, again, invoking personam jurisdiction by sovereign affidavit and telling them that no United States corporation, company, citizen, nor their agents, principals, heirs, assigns, nor any derivatives thereof has personam jurisdiction over the Moors. And then she will need to do a lien on whoever it is that's attempting to do whatever they're trying to do with her.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And there are many, many liens on that page as well. Look for the liens that are in all lowercase letters in red.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's mine.
Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome. Are there any other questions, comments, etc., that we can assist with as a nation? And also, if there are, let me see, I'm looking in the chat. Justice Michael Tunica L. Bay, did you want to talk about what happened? Justice Michael Tunica Bay, do you want to discuss what you put in the chat briefly? If not, I can read what you put in there. You said, I confirm what Jeremore stated. I was pulled over in Louisiana Territory, and I domiciled in Atlanta, Georgia Territory, and I just stated that I'm American. Oh, go ahead, Justice. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, we were, me, myself, my brother, we were down in Louisiana. We actually was kind of demonstrating to a sister down there that was showing us around on some of our land down there that we're looking at. And so she had some land too. And so it kind of was a really uplifting thing for me as well and for her, because she got a chance to see it firsthand, because, you know, it was explained to her about
you must read the treaty.
Go ahead, Justin.
Oh, yeah. So that she was about the tax on her land and all this thing. So actually, we were driving down to meet somebody else coming back from Baton Rouge back to Monroe when we got pulled over, and so yeah, the cop came to the window and he said driver's license, like that. I was like, well, we don't have driver's license. I said, I'm American national. And, you know, I looked at his face at the time when he had, you know, and his eyes kind of like just lit up like, what do you mean, you know? But anyway, I gave him my travel ID and said, here. And so he said, I'll be right back. And he came back and said, okay, you can get ahead on. And I just took my ID. I had no more conversation for him. But it was excellent that she got a chance to see the demonstration and, you know, witness what was going on. Because she actually changed her appellation, but she has not officially, you know, nationalized on paper yet. And so that was good because we were kind of demonstrating to her, you know.
Islam. Yes.
Islam.
Beautiful, Justice. Beautiful.
I just wanted to touch bases with Mikhail and let him know that as you see, when you practice, you know, what you've checked out, it works. And it simply works because you're doing the right thing, not because of anything else. It's because you're doing the right thing, and you're going about your business, and more the occupiers are very, very, very aware of who we are. Any one of them that tells you they don't know, they're lying. They know. Yeah. The idiots that come on our calls and stuff and act up the way they do, they know. That's why they're trying to find some way to discredit what we are, because they've had a nice, easy time of stealing and raiding and stuff for a couple 100 years. That time is at an end. And as we keep acting in our proper status, that's going to happen all over the world. So, good job. Keep it up. And Moors, let's do more of that.
Yes.
Peace and love.
My next venture is coming is at the end of the month.
Yes. Go ahead, Joe.
So That's going to be my next task there. I'm working on getting my documents out. I have sent them already to Homeland Security so far, and looking, to actually go and, well, I won't share all the details, but yeah, I'm heading out the country. Ethiopia is where I'm headed, and so we're looking to see, well, I already know it's going to work, so that's what I'm standing on. Peace.
Yes. Islam. Beautiful.
Islam, and
Beautiful.
don't take Ethiopian citizenship.
Islam.
No, I'm giving them mine.
Islam.
Islam. Yes. That's beautiful, Justice. Go ahead, Justice Ernst.
What would be the international document you would be using?
Your travel document?
Yes.
That's it?
Yes. Moorish nationality card and Moorish travel card. But your nationality card, you don't even really need a travel card, but you can have one if you want one. That's optional for you, but that's what we use, because all of that other stuff was in the absence of when we were not governing. But it's not that we were not governing. We've always governed. Okay, but nationality documents are the sovereign supreme documents for travel all over our land and all over our estate. And even over there is our estate. Just so that everyone's aware, the whole earth is the estate of the heirs.
Islam,
Empress.
Speaking of overseas, I kind of missed the top part of the last part of the conversation. Did he state that you could use the travel cards to travel overseas?
Yes, you can. I don't
internationally?
know if you said that or not. Yes.
Oh, okay. Because I didn't quite catch that. And speaking of that, when we're doing our liens, if there are any companies that are headquartered internationally, how do we handle that? If their main...
What do you mean, companies that are headquartered internationally?
Corporations, I'm sorry. There are some corporations that their main headquarters are, let's say, in London.
Actually, if you go to Dun and Bradstreet, they're going to be registered in Washington, D.C.
I see. Okay. Just wanted to check that.
They must be. You can't operate on this earth without being registered there.
Okay.
So they will have an address in Washington, D.C. All of them, every last corporation on this earth. Because guess what? Their ability to operate is based on the heirs right here at America.
At North America. Islam.
Yes.
I yield.
Yes,
Islam.
Islam.
A little piece of information to know on that. Everyone here that thinks they're in some sort of power that is not a Moor, and everyone else in the world, has been hypothecating our status because we wanted to be black and colored and Negroes and all of that stuff. Once we determine that we're not that and that we state who we are, the world must pay attention. And when the world pays attention and you pay attention to what they are doing, everything they have been doing as an authority actually is vested in you right now. But you must know this before you start doing it. You cannot be what you don't know. That's the reason for study, and that's the reason why that study is never over. You have to know yourself well, and when you know yourself well, you'll know everything else well. Islam.
Yes, Islam. Yes. With regard to the travel card as well, remember,
no one on the earth is supposed to be traveling without Moorish American documents of some kind, or original sovereign indigenous documents. Corporate documents are not withstanding on this earth. And I've said this previously, but I'm going to repeat it because it bears repeating. Those who are carrying corporate United States in all capital letters documents, if they try to go over to any of the other lands and open bank accounts, etc., using those documents, they can be arrested, and the bank executives, the corporate bank executives, can be arrested and placed in prison for 30 years for giving them an account based on those documents. U.S. passport, U.S. driver's license, and that's the capital letters. Anything with capital letters on it, you're not supposed to be using it to do any commerce at all, because sovereign commerce has already begun on this land. Know that. And sovereign commerce started way back in 2018. It's always been here, by the way, but we published some things in 2018 as a nation and as the government that said no more foreign commerce. The commerce must be original and indigenous. And it's funny because the ancestors showed me some information where all historic, you know that number that they call the quote-unquote national debt? Mm-hmm. When we declared the gold standard, that number, we declared it in September of 2019, I believe. 2018. 2018, we did the lien on the Service Corporation, and in 2019, September, we did the gold standard in August, September timeframe. The national debt clock stopped ticking at the end of September because they noticed that what we were about to do with that. So sovereign commerce has begun on the land, and all of that other stuff has to stop once sovereign gold-backed commerce begins. It's already begun. It just doesn't look like people think it should look. But it's been everyone who has filed a lien, everyone who's done a court action, everyone who has done a sovereign affidavit that has a gold clause in it, all of that is sovereign commerce. Islam, justice.
Islam, this is just an announcement for everybody to know that if you have what's called dollars in savings, convert them to silver or something else, precious metals. If you have them in savings, you'll be saving them for kindling in the next couple of months. That's all they'll be worth. So, get them converted to stuff that, in fact, Grand Sheikh Taj was talking about it over the weekend, on Friday. You can, with a piece of silver, you can feed yourself for days. Even right now, with a 1 ounce piece of pure silver. So do that rather than trying to get hold of land and control of this and whatever. You've got all that control already. When you're dealing with the stuff with silver and gold and stuff like that, you literally are not getting it for any of the things that you might think, but the knowledge of what silver and gold and copper are to you and their relationship to you will be of immeasurable value very soon. It is now, in fact. So just keep that in mind. Don't try to save a bunch of paper stuff. And again, keep your change. Don't give away your change. Metals, even the one that's fake tinny and stuff, all the metals are really precious metals.
Islam, let me camel back on that and take it a couple of steps further, please.
Islam.
When you terminate all corporate contracts on those bank accounts, when you terminate the corporate contracts on them, you don't have to worry about confiscation of any kind. I'm just telling you, there will be no confiscation of the resources, the sovereign resources that belong to the heirs. But that must be placed on the public record, and if you have to notify those corporations and tell them their services are no longer needed, they're not going to be able to confiscate or stop anything that you're doing with regard to bank accounts. And when I say bank accounts, I'm speaking ancient English because they're sovereign resources. But you must terminate the corporate contracts that would tell them that what's in there is a gift to them, because it's not. It's a gift to the heirs.
Yes.
Just so that we are all aware. And I know that, again, we have to go steps further with our thinking so that we continue to free ourselves with regard to our resources. They can't touch our resources if we say they can't. The whole time we've been saying they can. Now we're saying they can't, and look what's happening. They had to invent something, because they knew this was coming, by the way. Okay. Empress Nalo, yes, please.
Yeah.
Empress Nalo.
Islam. I was almost reluctant to even say this comment, and you know why? Because the little critters on the line. But I'm going to share this experience. I in the past purchased gold and silver, and it was under another name, okay, and that's because that's how I had the PayPal set up, and I tried to do, and when I did proclaim my nationality, and then I tried to purchase my appellation. And because the first time, what they're doing is they if it's over $1,000, they want to send it certified mail, return receipt, where you have to go into the post office and sign for it. And I don't like going into that section to their windows to do anything. Okay, I have a P.O. box and I can go, check that, but I don't like going to their window. So, and I didn't know they were going to do that. So the other time, twice in a row, I tried to purchase using the appellation and my P.O. box, because I would go and do that. I even tried under my daughter on our names, our appellation. What has happened is it might be because in this territory I have leaned everybody. I'm leaning all the state, the county, the city, the banks, the hospitals, the businesses, everybody, okay? I did a lot, and I think in specific might be because of the banks, I don't know. But when I tried to purchase the gold the last couple of times, the bank actually, it went through. I didn't use PayPal. I used a card. It went through. My banks have no problem. My bank has no problem, and it goes through. It was for a little over $2,000, and the banks have no problem. However, the company that sells the metals, they had an issue because they're not able to verify me in their systems, because I'm not going to come up in their systems. I don't come up on a credit report, okay? So because they couldn't verify me, they canceled my purchase both times, okay? So they leave me no recourse. I'm going to have to lien them now, okay? So, and that's what I'm going to do. So I just thought I'd share that with and I yield. Yes.
I do have a little bit of information about that, if you would. If you're getting stuff in your and using your allodial titles and things to acquire anything, you need to have because what they're looking at, they're trying to verify. Because you're probably using something of a corporate account, something in there still showing it as a corporate account, and they can't match it up with the appellation if you're purchasing the thing in your appellation. So what I've done, I have a card in my appellation, and it's quite frankly, it's not difficult at all. I did it maybe a year, no, a little less than a year ago, but yeah, about a year ago. And so and that's all I use. I don't use any type of corporate identification or anything for anything. And really, after a couple of times, I had, maybe a few months ago, a couple of people that I had to just tell them, you really need to find out what's going on, because I try to give everybody the many opportunities as possible to correct what they're doing.
Lorraine Janelle, are you there?
Justice Jim Moore, my card isn't in my appellation. My card isn't. It is in the appellation. In fact, the banks actually have my alloidal live birth affidavit, and they have my universal sovereign security credit affidavit too. So, so it's not the banks, it's the companies themselves. So I'm just going to lean them. So anyway, I yield. That's all.
I buy from a different company too. Islam.
Islam, Justice Walker.
Yes, I just thought about it. I filed for my sovereign security insurance about 4 months ago, and it supposed to apply for within 3 months of turning the age of 62. But anyway, I haven't received any information back or any. I just haven't heard anything, and I was
I guess I would love to know what you mean by file for a sovereign security instrument. I have no idea what that means.
Well, I filed for Social Security for the age of 62.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You are the CEO of the Social Security Administration in all lowercase letters. So just send an affidavit to them saying that you've issued Social Security to yourself.
But do I have to state how much, or do they state how much?
Whatever the rate is supposed to be. So you have to do your research on the rate and just say you're issuing sovereign credits to yourself into your bank account for that. Into the bank account for that. For that amount of credits, of sovereign credits. And sovereign credits again it looks the same as fiat in the account, but that's not even fiat in the account. It's sovereign credits because a sovereign has terminated the corporate contract that would call it something that it's not, and called and stepped up as the creditor who commands gold and silver. Sovereign credits. Okay. Yep. Okay. And make sure you lien them and do a court action, which you've probably already done.
Yeah, I done did all of that. So do I ask for? Could I ask for?
You're not asking for nothing. Hold on, get your language right, correct. You gotta say, you have to know who you are before you do those demonstrations, Justice. You must. And we can't be lackadaisical with our language. The freedom is in the language. Okay, our freedom is in the language.
Right.
Okay, so we're not asking for anything. You're just telling them their services are no longer needed, and you've already issued the sovereign credits that you need for Social Security into your sovereign resource account.
Okay.
Okay. It's unconventional actions, but we are the heirs after all. And all of that must be done in all lowercase letters.
Right.
But when you do it, you have to actually do it for you and for all Moors.
Oh, most definitely. That's what it's all got to me and all the Moors.
Yes. Any demonstrations that the Moors do, we must do it for all of us and not just one of us. Islam.
Well, I yield.
Yes, Islam. So again, heirs, we can command what we will. We have to do it even for our, see, and that's what I was saying with regards to the heirs that are in the those places, the POW camps. We're actually assisting them by saying, do this for me and for all more. And in fact, we're not even telling the occupiers to do anything. We're telling them you're relieved of your duty. We don't need your services anymore. We're going to issue it to ourselves. See, Moors have been having a hard time getting these colonizers to do anything, and so it's time now for us to, because the colonizers are not in control of anything. They already know that. That's why they always want a signature, an autograph rather, from the heirs. And so we know that, so now we're going to relieve them of their duties, and we're going to tell them, we terminated corporate contracts, your services are no longer needed. We are issuing whatever it is we're issuing for us and for all more. And that's how we're proceeding from this point. Now that we know that we're unified, now that we know that we're in command of all that has to do with our estate, they are not, if they were, they would not be looking as crazy as they're looking, even in the media. They can't even agree on whether they should be, whether to wear a mask or not, or whatever, that, for the citizens. And so services no longer needed. We got it. We'll do it. We'll take it from here. It's our estate. We got it. And that is why, again, Morris, when you're doing your demonstrations in all lowercase letters, whatever corporation that you have leaned and done a court action on, once you've done the court action and you have terminated all corporate contracts, then you do a CEO affidavit, a Chief Executive Officer affidavit in ancient English. Now, that's going to be a little bit of a step up. So new Moors, you don't necessarily have to worry about that right now unless you get it, because some new Moors already know we're supposed to be ahead of everything. We're supposed to be telling the system what to do in the first place. So again, you're the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer. You send that to them in all in ancient English in all lowercase letters, and you tell them that you're issuing for you and for all Moors this, that, and this and that you've already issued it. And know that you're speaking to a system. You're not even talking to quote unquote humans. And the Albions know that. That's why most of them have jumped ship already. Because we don't have that, we're not talking to them just like they're not talking to us when they start talking in all capital letters. So we just issue what we need from our own estate. And issue that same thing for all Moors. Islam. Right now we are at the 2 hour mark, a little bit over the 2 hour mark.
Time for
keep
dinner.
That in mind, please. And Islam? Yeah, it is. For some of us.
It's time for dinner.
Yes, it is. It is. So we're going to be putting out some of the affidavits that have to do with where we're going next in terms of our estate and how to continue to minister the estate. The ancestors have shown us some very powerful and valuable things. Now that system, the other system has crumbled and the Albions are out of the way. And we're going to be putting those affidavits out so that the heirs can continue to effectuate them, so that you can use them and put them into activity for yourself as well. And with that, I believe we're done for this week. Peace and grand rising to the heirs.
happy holy day as well.
Grand Rising.
Grand Rising.
Grand Rising.
Peace and Grand Rising.
Grand Rising.
Peace and love.
Grand
Rising. Grand Rising.
Grand Rising.
I love y'all.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. Peace and love. Peace and love.
Grand Rising, Lord.
Long live the empire.
Yeah, exactly.
Long
Grand
live
Rising, peace and love. Well, yeah.
Islam.
Long live the Moorish Empire.
Yes, long live the